Welcome to the Place to Be Reviews. Let's get this legal stuff out of the way here before we get into today's video. Welcome, my friends. This is the Place to Be Reviews. I'm Etep Wakui, and today we are going to be talking about Mandalorian Chapter 4. Follow us across social media if you would be so kind. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, podcast available. Hello, and welcome back to the Place to Be Reviews. I'm Etep Wakui, and right here with all of yous. And today we're talking Mandalorian Episode 4. And I've been meaning to get to this video since Friday, but I just simply have not had time this weekend. Which I see I've lost a couple subscribers. Great. So if you're enjoying the content that I make, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to grow this up here. Ding that bell for notifications, and away we go. The Mandalorian can't catch a break. This article is from Friday at 3:01 a.m. This is right after The Mandalorian dropped. This is from IO9 Gizmodo. I'm just going to use this as a baseline, as afterwards I'm going to go into a discussion about this episode in particular, and one of my favorite badass females, Gina Carano, who was Cara Dune in this, and she is a absolutely legitimate badass woman, and she is still damned amazingly beautiful and feminine. I mean, that is, and if you don't think so, then dude, you know, I mean, that's your thing, man. But I mean, seriously, like, everybody says they want a badass female character, and I'm talking to the Fandom Menace people out there, because this is what I'm going to get into after I go through this episode recap and kind of give my thoughts on this little article here. Because she has caused quite a stir within the Fandom Menace, so we're going to talk about that, and that's something I represent, but I've kind of been a little bit ashamed of them over the last couple days. So let's take a look at this article here by Jermaine Lussier, I don't know. Episode 4 of The Mandalorian is called Sanctuary, as in what the Mandalorian needs in his life. He just needs a place to hide, somewhere to lay low. While the heat from his previous action dies down, he's just betrayed the bounty hunter's code and inadvertently exposed his fellow Mandalorians in the process. So as episode 4 of The Mandalorian begins, the bounty hunter settles on Sorgan, a seemingly quiet backwater planet. Turns out it's anything but. We'll just kind of skim through this. This episode was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, and it seems like Sorgan will be just kind of, you know, a lush green planet. This is the first time they've had a cold open on this, on this show, I believe. Or this is, no, not the first one, but this cold open, it showed, this, like they says right here, something we don't get to see. It's peace. These villagers are just living their lives, farming, kids are playing, they're fishing for these krill. In that last, like I said, 60 seconds, you get these Klatooinians. These raiders, excuse me. Take a drink of water here. I'm a little bit under the weather right now. This will not affect any programming, though, this week, and we'll go into that later on. So these Klatooinians raid the village. They're shooting blasters, setting stuff on fire, stealing food. So the farmers, they need help. Conveniently, here comes the Mandalorian. And we get to see him, the Razor Crest ship, Baby Yoda. I'll read this paragraph. This part's kind of cool, because the floating crib was destroyed. Now the little guy just gets to stand and walk. And if you thought Yoda was cute before, holy shit, he's about 1 billion times cuter walking around. I damn near melted from the adorableness in the first scene as he continued to flick buttons, much to the chagrin of Mando. And when they land, Baby Yoda refuses to stay on the ship. He stands there expectantly and starts waddling along like a good little boy. It's so freaking precious. For the record, walking Yoda is greater than floating Yoda. Yeah, this was kind of cool. Although, like I said, it's kind of, he doesn't really use his force powers this episode. So just kind of went back to, being, quote unquote, the kid again, the child. But it was a much more, there was much more Disney-esque things in a few of these scenes, and we'll get to that as they come to it. So, he goes into this bar, and, he's got that Beskar armor on. He's got his little alien with him. So he's, kind of conspicuous. So, Cara Dune, this is where he sees her in this Sorgan bar. She's pretty easy to spot, and he quickly figures she's a bounty hunter out to find Baby Yoda. When she disappears, he heads outside to investigate, only to get jumped by Cara, though they duel to a stalemate. Just another awesome shot of her. It's just a complete badass with some pipes here. I mean, she's got the heavy artillery. Yeah, I do love me this character already. So they trade war stories. She's a former shock trooper. So this he decides that two of them on this planet is a little too much, and he says he'll leave, but these two farmers come to him and ask him for protection, and he goes to her and says, hey, want in on this. So she gets, of course, for pay. And like this sentence says right here, again, it makes sense, the overall context of the story, that he'd ask this former soldier he respects for help, but forging of their two private lives so quickly and powerfully still felt rushed. And combining their two encounters, you do believe their trust and friendship, but the journey there was a little rocky for me personally. And I'm going to talk about this when I'm done with this article. So they do the recon, and Mando and Cara realize they have an ATST, which was really cool to see this thing. When it finally got fired up and going, this was a really cool sequence. And it was just kind of funny. So they of course they have a montage to train the villagers how to fight. Mando, this Omera, now that's the little girl, and the mother who kind of gave him their barn to stay in. Now this Julia Jones, apparently she's in Westworld. I've never seen Westworld. I've heard good things about it, but I've never seen it. She's kind of accommodating, and helps provide the audience with a few key pieces of information. Number one, Mando hasn't taken off his helmet in front of people since he was a kid, as many people wondered after the comments last week. He does take it off to eat if he's alone. Number two, the Mandalorians took him in after his parents were killed, so although he was raised Mandalorian, he may not actually be a Mandalorian, which seemed like a very curious bit of information to drop in the middle of an episode. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it, and his parents were Mandalorian, but the way he delivered the line, it sounds like he may be an outsider. Either way, the scenes with Omera certainly leave you feeling as if the Mandalorian is comfortable in this place and cares about what happens to these people. So he and Cara agree to help the farmers. Despite the enormous task in front of them, they'll have to train the villagers, come up with a plan to outsmart their enemies, and take down the ATST for good so it can't be used against them again. Of note, Mando and Cara wonder why the machine was even on this planet, but the answer isn't delivered here. The resulting training montage is cute, but one of the noteworthy moments comes courtesy of Omera. She's the only person in the village who knows how to shoot, and damn, she's good at it too. Was she a rebellion fighter, maybe part of the Empire? Did she escape Mandalore during the Great Purge? It's also curious and goes unexplained, but I have a feeling we'll find out at some point. Yeah, I do think that they will come back to this, because she was seriously, these guys and everybody else is all over the place with their shots with the blasters, because the Mandalorian arms them, because he's got that big weapons catch on his ship. So the Razor Crest. So they're teaching him how to shoot. Yeah, she is just a deadeye. Mando and Cara raise some hell at the camp. They blow some stuff up, and then they lure them into traps the farmers have organized, and it works out. Out of the shadow of the mist arrives the ATST. So it looks really awesome in the dark because it's kind of got the red eye glow. This was such a cool piece from this episode. I have one sitting on my desk over here. It's kind of like it's a modern one, it's a Power of the Force, I think. But yeah, I love these things, and it's cool to finally get to see one in action again. In fact, the shots coming out of the Force as well as the wide shots later felt very Jurassic Park inspired, which makes sense since one of the stars of Jurassic World, Bryce Dallas Howard, directed the episode. And yeah, that was kudos to her for that. I think she caught a lot of flack already for this episode from some of the YouTubers, but I didn't. And we're, like I said, we're gonna save this for after the little episode thing here. Howard is worth mentioning here too because the scenes of the ATST are packed with fantastic tension. Though the villagers have set a trap for the walker to fall into, somehow the driver can see it and stops in front of it. It's unfortunate we never find out who's driving the walker because they are by far the smartest walker driver we've ever seen in Star Wars. Plus, the entire plan hinges on the walker falling into the hole, so the longer it doesn't, the worse things are for everyone, as the Klatooinian raiders are able to swarm ahead as the ATST fires on the farmers. Cara, quick on her feet, devises an alternate plan to draw the ATST into the hole. The plan is basically to go right underneath it and shoot it a bunch with Mando's gun, his particle, like that, his big rifle that disintegrates things. It's not the most delicate plan or the safest, but eventually, after some moments of great anxiety for our hero, her devised anxiety for this is clunky wording right here. This article's excuse me, I'm sorry. Great anxiety for her devised by Howard. The ATST trips and falls. So that it was just clunky wording. I'm sorry. Mando runs over and blows it up, and the day is won. The entire battle felt like a mini Return of the Jedi. It kind of did. The villagers were obviously in the Ewoks' role, right down to using sharp sticks as weapons and nature to defeat a technological beast. I must say, I very much enjoyed the parallels. I thought it was a cool battle scene. I had no issue with this episode, really. There was a few, like I said, we'll talk about it after my thoughts. And so, it seemed like all was well for Cara and the Mandalorian on the remote planet of Sorgan. Cara even suggested Mando settle down with Omera, who obviously took a bit of a liking to him. Omera tells Mando that the villagers want him to stay and tries to take off his helmet, but he stops her at the last second. He does, however, want to leave Baby Yoda there, and when he said that you could basically hear the screams for everyone watching the show who don't want that to happen. They've spent several weeks with these people, and Mando feels the child will be able to actually be a child if he stays there instead of traveling with a dangerous bounty hunter. There's a shot of Omera, Julia Jones, and Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian character. She was going to take his helmet off. Baby Yoda is certainly happy on Sorgan. He's got food and comfort and plenty of little kids to play with. But just as Mando is explaining his reasoning to Omera, we see another bounty hunter has arrived on Sorgan, and it's got a tracking fob. It has Baby Yoda in his sights, dead to rights. Then bam! We think the child has been killed. No, we didn't. But alas, it was Cara Dune who killed the bounty hunter instead. Mando knows that the word is out on his whereabouts. Not only can't he stay on Sorgan, but neither can Baby Yoda. So Mando and Cara say their goodbyes, and he and Baby Yoda set off on their next adventure. Sanctuary was an action-packed, edge-of-your-seat episode of The Mandalorian, but it felt a little off the beaten path figuratively, as well as literally. So much care was put into humanizing these villagers and developing the relationship between Cara and Mando, only to have them all leave each other by the end of the episode. Since we know that Cara is back for Season 2, obviously this won't be the last we see of her. God, I hope not. And I'm guessing it won't be the last we see of Omera or Sorgan either. As it stands now, it feels more like a tangent than a leap ahead. Even if it was a fun one, time will tell just how important these relationships end up being. Okay. So, my thoughts on this episode. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was a little different than the first 3 episodes were great. This one is the lowest rated on IMDb, which really didn't affect what I thought about the episode. I just kind of felt it was a little, like I said, off the beaten path. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not going to give it a 5 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5 every week. The bright spot of this episode was the ATST. I thought that was great. The CG looked good on that. I don't know if they used a model and a toy or straight CG, but whatever they did, it looked cool. The effects were good. The Klatooinians look good. I really like Gina Carano. I love Gina Carano, actually. Her character, she's just a badass. She's legit. She looks like she's a beast, but she's still, like I said, she's still feminine. This is the kind of like character, and her acting has gotten better since let's see, she was in Deadpool, she played Angel Dust, Haywire. I'm trying to think what else she was in. I think she was in one of the Fast and Furious movies, wasn't she? That was Ronda Rousey. But I'm not sure what else. But no, she's improved a little bit. She was an American Gladiator at one point in the remake of that. So all the and of course, her MMA career. So legitimate, tough, badass, beautiful, strong woman. This is, a ideal female heroine. Now, there's people that have issues with this within the Fandom Menace, which I find to be quite hypocritical, because these are the same people who criticized Rey's character and Captain Marvel, which I do too, and Batwoman, because you've got in Charlie's Angels, Ghostbusters 2016, because you've got these jokey female characters, and in the case of like Batwoman, you've got Ruby Rose, who's 5'7" and 100 pounds, knocking out 240-pound guys like it's nothing. Overpowered Mary Sue Ray, and that's no slight to Daisy Ridley. Like I said, I like Daisy Ridley. I find her to be lovely. She seems like a very fun person, and a really like down to earth person. But physically, like some of these you don't buy them, and they touted Brie Larson's physicality for training for Captain Marvel. I mean, what? I mean, this is what we were asking for right here, and we got it. And now these guys, some of them, they want to go to the well and cry SJW and cry, oh, it's woke. What is wrong with you guys? Like, seriously. I mean, we get sick of these stupid, Mary Sue characters, and so Mando gets, they fight a little bit, and because she punched him in the helmet, of course, well, yeah, it's gonna hurt her hands. This is a, and I'm sure it did, but for the purposes of the fight scene, they sold it the way it was, and I don't think they took anything away from him this episode. I didn't come away from this episode feeling like they weakened his character. And I understand some of these people are hypersensitive because of what Disney has done to Star Wars, and I'm right there with them. I'm, Fandom Menace. But at the same time, when Disney does something right, it's only fair that we say, hey, good job. You give somebody praise when they do something right. They screw up, you call it out. But if you see a female lead and your first instinct is to cry SJW, then you're no better than the SJWs we're rallying against, and the identity politics and all that stuff. You're just exacerbating the situation, and then you look like them, and you prove them right. So but who am I, right? I'm just a little YouTube channel with 121 subscribers. Well, you know what? My subscriber count doesn't really diminish the value of my thoughts and opinions on this. Being as I know a thing or two about Star Wars, I don't have any connections to the media, but when you follow something as long as I have Star Wars, and films and just movies overall, and being an average, average Joe kind of movie critic, and I know I'm against this wokeness too. But like I said, don't automatically see a strong woman. Oh, it's woke. It's woke. Mando got flipped over. Oh my God, she punched him. Oh, he got his ass beat. He didn't get his ass beat. They fought to a stalemate, and if he wanted to end it, he would have just shot her right in the head with his blaster. She could have shot him in the head, and it wouldn't have mattered because that Beskar steel would have deflected the blaster bolt right off of it, and she would have been toast. So, but would you still have cried then if he did that? No, probably not. But I mean, this whole and somebody I even saw some in comment sections, they call beefy, or one guy called her fat. I'm like, Jesus, dude, I don't even need to. I'm not white knighting for Gina Carano, as Gina Carano needs nobody to white knight for. But I'm just pointing out some obvious hypocrisy here and some really funny insecurities coming from people who claim to want these strong female characters that make sense. But now, if you wanted him to just completely demolish her because she was quote unquote just a shock trooper, which they're pretty badass in Star Wars lore, let's be honest. Wouldn't that make him a Gary Stu instead of a Mary Sue? Do you really want that? Is that what you guys want? You want him to be called a Gary Stu? Because that's a thing. That's a thing. There's a male version of a Mary Sue, and it's a Gary Stu. So please don't make us look bad by basically being the boy who cried wolf. When there's all right, now you want to talk about Omera? We can talk about Omera and her being a great shot with a rifle. We don't know a lot about Omera yet, outside of what this episode told us. But this woman, like they said in the article, she could be could have been somebody before she came to live in this village. So, I mean, it's a possibility, or maybe she's just a good shot. But that really, like I said, that didn't take away anything from anybody. I mean, these guys are a bunch of farmers. I mean, this is a single mother on a planet like this where your village is getting raided by Klatooinians. Yeah, she's probably going to be a little bit tough. Now, she may have handled a blaster before. We don't know. So, until we know these things, though, I mean, let's kind of stop the knee-jerk reactions. I mean, when something needs a knee-jerk reaction, okay, but this really doesn't, because like I said, I got no wokeness from this. Like, my woke meter is at 0. Still, I give it a 3 out of 5, just because I'm not doing I'm not doing halves, and I'm not going to go 4, so I'll go 3 on this. I thought Bryce Dallas Howard did a good job. I didn't think this but I didn't think there's any wokeness in this episode. And I see some of the people have kind of walked back their comments already because they face quote-unquote backlash from other YouTubers and, comment sections and stuff like that. Well, that's what happens, man. I mean, it's just part of the game. You want to do a video and make a thumbnail just to get clicks. You got the clicks. You guys out there that did them, and were saying this and saying that about it being woke, you got your clicks, and then you had to walk back your statements because you knew they were wrong in the first place, but you just wanted those clicks. Then you had to go on an apology tour. Hey, but what the fuck do I know, right? I'm just some guy sitting in his office with a laptop and a microphone here and a headset that talks about entertainment and whatnot, but I don't know anything because I only got 121 subs. So yeah, this episode was decent. Like I said, Bryce Dallas Howard did an okay job, and I think she is coming back to do another episode this season. We're gonna take a look here a little more in depth at what is coming up director-wise for the rest of the first season of The Mandalorian, and we'll go into this a little more in depth here. So, yeah. All right, so overall, I gave this episode of The Mandalorian a 3 out of 5. Now, you're wondering why I was singing the praises of the Gina Carano, and I'm only going to give this episode a 3 out of 5. Well, I gave the other ones, I believe, either 3 to 3.5 to 4s. I'll go 3 on this one, just because of kind of the nature of the episode. Nothing to do with who was involved in the cast. I didn't. The villagers were a little, the only thing I could say is that the male characters were a little weak, to say the least. But you know what? I mean, they're not always going to be strong, and like I said, you don't want Gary Stews. And this is the problem I see with a lot of the Fandom Menaces. You're asking for something that you think you want, but when you get it, you can't handle it. And I just don't want that to reflect badly upon all of us as a movement. And that's I guess the central theme of what I'm trying to convey here with this is we don't want these hollow, nondescript, characters, these female characters, these Mary Sues. Nobody wants that. We're not against these female characters. My God, like I said, I spent this episode just, digging Gina Carano for more than just her obvious aesthetics, but just that she's just a badass. And I'm like, this is finally what we've been wanting, what we've been asking for in a character. And just because she got a little bit of shine on Pedro Pascal, people are losing their minds over it and, saying it's gone woke, and it hasn't. This Omera lady, played by Julia Jones, like I said, she's got some potential as a character. And are they going to use her as a love interest for the Mandalorian? It kind of looked that way, but he's got to stick to the code, and do his thing, and he's got to protect the child, the baby Yoda. So he leaves. But, she was instantaneously, and I talked about this earlier, a great shot. So that was something else people were complaining about. Overall, I like the tone of this show. I like where it's going. The direction is cool. We're going to get to see, another planet next, another director. We've unfortunately got a Taika Waititi episode coming up, which is terrifying. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Facebook, we have a group over there called the Official Place to Be Reviews fan page. And yeah, you don't want more of this woke entertainment, this Ghostbusters 2016 nonsense, this Charlie's Angels, that just came out. Ocean's 8 was just a certified bomb. Made no money. Terminator Dark Fate was bad. I really got to warn you guys that if you don't want more of this, a Wrinkle in Time type stuff, you get woke, you go broke. And I think The Mandalorian is hopefully going to learn that. Thanks. This has been the Place to Be Reviews. I'm Etepwakuian. And as I've said, be sure that you are following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We got the Facebook group over there, the Place to Be Reviews, the Official Place to Be Reviews fan page. Follow us on that. And also, you can join that. You can follow the Place to Be Reviews page. Got links to all the videos and all that fun stuff. YouTube, we got the live stream Monday night, going in raw, Tuesday morning, about last night. Every third week, the boardroom is hosted on the Place to Be Reviews fan page. Yeah, so check us out. And remember, if I don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow, and hail the Fandom Menace. Strong it shall remain.